Guten Tag and bienvenidos, listeners, and welcome to Über Cinco, the podcast game show where we deep dive top fives. I, Brian Ernst, will be your host for today's festivities, and in the den are our recurring characters with indefinite arcs, Mitch Brickman and Nathan Hennenfent. Today, these scripted fellas will attempt to reveal and defend their top 5 TV characters they'd butt heads with. Our first guest was intended to be killed off at the end of season 1, but due to fan demand, we unfortunately had to keep him around. It's Mitch Brickman. How are you?
Yes! I was hoping you were going to say that. I'm the little engine that could, probably shouldn't, but still can. So thank you very much.
And our next guest is due for a spinoff in which his side character, known for playing it safe, moves to a new city and goes on a stabbing rampage while eating every vegetable in sight. What a departure. Nathan Hennenfent, welcome to the show.
Thank you. That would, if I did that for Halloween this year, that would scare the crap out of everybody who knows me.
And no one more than you. And thanks to everyone who participated in our table game giveaway. Big shout out to our winner, Colleen Sismasia. Congratulations. And we hope you invite us over for game night soon. And if you want to get blown to the moon, head on over to the all-new ubercinco.com, the refreshed home of our humble pod. There's literally no better place to listen or watch your favorite episodes. And come on, how else are you going to share them with your friends? Don't forget to leave your suggestion for future topics there in the form, in a form or via voicemail so we can keep this train rolling. And once you're done palling around those new virtual digs, take a load off with a quick rundown of the rules.
Each player in the den has spent time with today's topic arranging their top 5 answers in order of importance. Those answers have been submitted to the host who will moderate the game, awarding points to the player with the most poignant answer.
Starting with their number 5 choice, we'll move up the ranks until we reach each of their top answers. But if both contestants happen to have the same answer on their list, well, we have an Uber stare.
You will hear the official Über Cinco siren, and both players must reveal their answer and what number they ranked their submission. An Uber stare down is all or nothing, with one player earning 3 points. After all answers have been read, the host will reveal the final score.
And as a reminder, don't forget to stick with us until the end of the show where I, Brian Ernst, will give you my Fast 5 send-off where I'll rattle off the definitive list of the top 5 names for your Americanized Dojo. And finally, as host,
punch, kick, leg sweep. There we go.
I am entitled to institute a house rule for today's game. Bonus points to the man, any one of you who is brave enough to sing the theme.
Wait, Brian. I'm a boy. Okay, let's be honest. Don't say, yes.
Bonus points to the little itty bitty boy who's brave enough to sing the theme song in which their character is based. Oh, that's a little musical numbers today.
I like that. Oh my gosh.
Mitch, you won the pre-show nursing home verbal assault contest, so you may go first. Yeah.
I actually, quick story, in high school, I did some volunteering because I was a child of the Catholic Church. And so I was at an old folks home doing some volunteering one day, and I was in mass with some of the residents, and I was sitting on the side where there were no chairs, except for mine. I got pulled the chair over there because I was sitting next to the wheelchair bound people. And I had someone who could walk come over to me after the mass. And I was sitting next to the loudest person at the community. This woman would like shout out during the mass and like say things like, "Carl, don't forget to bring over the cards later." You know, you're like, Candace, it can wait. Yeah. Like he's doing the prayer, you know. And this woman comes over and gets in my face, like literally doesn't allow me to get up out of my chair and goes, "I don't know why you're sitting with the wheelies." And I stood up and I said, "You son of..." No, I just said, and then was awkward because I was 17 and then pushed my friend Candace back out into the great room. But
there's nursing home bullies?
Yes. Oh my God. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
It's horrifying.
Yeah. There's also like the people who get laid in a nursing home. Oh yeah,
that's a big,
you know, you're in a whole different class there, my dude. But okay, where were we? What are we doing
Cinco
today? Oh, yep. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Top 5 TV characters I had butt heads with. My number 5 you might go aghast when I say this, but my number 5 is Ted Lasso.
I can see this though. I can see it. I can see it.
Okay, Brian, can you guess with one word what my problem with Ted Lasso would be in the context of being a sports coach?
In the context of being a sports coach?
Yeah. What I would have a problem with Ted Lasso.
That he's not really familiar with the sport that he's coaching?
Exactly, so therefore his coaching lacks specificity. Mm-hmm. If all you're going to say is like, hey, guys, come on, believe, and be a goldfish, and come on now, let's be nice to each other. I'd be like, you know what? How about you tell me how to beat a fucking 3-2 defense? How about that? Understand what a give and go is, maybe be able to kick a ball farther than 10 yards. And he never blows up at people. He does it once, but it's not even real. Like, you got to have a little bit of fire with your marshmallows, you know? And what does that become? That's a delicious s'more. Yeah. And that's what you want as a coach.
A delicious s'more.
Sorry, but like,
that's great.
I always thought Phil Jackson was a really delicious s'more. You're right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you know who is this chocolate? Tex Winter, you know? Because what do people eat s'mores for? It's the chocolate. It's not the marshmallow. Let's be honest. Okay. But
we pause. This is the first time I've understood every name in a sports reference you've given. So this is a big day for me. Thank God I watched The Last Dance.
And also, I was banking on the audience also watching The Last Dance. Yes. So I hope to God.
Triangles, folks. Triangles. Got it.
Triangles. But Ted Lasso, I would just get annoyed with him just kind of always papering over things and never getting into the nitty gritty. And he always passes off the tactics to another coach or like Nathan, the assistant coach, which like, I get it. Maybe you have your specialist, but I need a head coach who knows everything inside and out, front to back, top to bottom, asses to tails, mouths to tiptoes. I don't know what all the phrases are. But
that all sounds right to me.
Yeah, but like every now and again, also Ted Lasso saves those dark moments for like maybe just him and Coach Beard or whatever, or for himself. I want to see that darkness because then I know that there's some kind of edge deep inside of him, or when we get into a tough derby match, he's going to be there to kick some ass on the sideline and put people into shape, into line. I don't know the phrases, you guys, but Ted Lasso, I think, would annoy the crap out of me after a week.
Well, maybe he would make a better coach than you. Yeah, I don't know the phrases. At least he has people around him that know the phrases.
Guys, we gotta play twinkly toes to elbows out there.
If you're not touching that white leather, what is it, air in that thing or is it water? What's inside of a soccer ball? I don't know. Put it in the onion bag, though.
Put it in an onion bag.
That's the phrase, right? That's
the
old
real,
English phrase.
That's good.
That one's
that's
real.
Good.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
That's my number 5.
That's good. I mean, I feel like you kind of described what I think all coaches do is just don't know anything, just kind of show up and, hey, do stuff. Okay, bye. Maybe I'm describing high school coaches. I don't know.
I mean, yes, for sure. Also, part of me wants there to be like a sad spiral side, like a D story maybe in the next season of Lasso, which is last season, where Ted finally enjoys his celebrity as a coach and like, goes out and like sleeps with people he shouldn't, maybe does some drugs, like that kind of thing. Like, really, really grouse up his image a little bit, get some grit around the edges.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, I do not have insight into that writer's room.
Do you think that would ruin the show, Brian?
I think it would.
Yeah.
I think they kind of already are pushing it based on, not spoilers, but what they've done with Nathan's arc.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's already kind of pushing it into new territory. So we will see what, how they make that play out. Because this was season 2, and now we're getting maybe a 3 and a 4, depending on how things go.
Maybe like we first see Coach Nathan again, he's like in a no holds barred, anything goes like bordello kind of situation, where there's just heaps of MDMA everywhere, I don't know.
That would be an
I can only hope.
You can only hope because that's probably all that you can do. Nathan, please give us your number 5 to compete with Mr. Ted Lasso.
All right, my number 5. It's very important to make the distinction. This is post-marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Post-marriage Jim and Pam from The Office.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it already.
It was as soon as they got married. The whole show was leading up to their marriage. That was where the heart and soul was that love story. And then they finally get married. They seal the deal, and it's that beautiful episode where all the rest of the cast does this silly dance down the aisle. And you got to think, wouldn't that have been a great last episode? Like, if the show had ended there, just how perfect would that have been? And I'm not saying that they shouldn't have carried on, because there are a lot of great episodes and great moments in the later seasons. But Jim and Pam very rarely are included in those. They just became insufferable. They became self-righteous. When they had a kid, it was like they were the only people who had ever had kids before. They expected special treatment. Jim starts a different company and still is allowed to work there. And then they have Jim and Pam on the same sales team, like a husband and wife working on the same. Everybody in that office should have absolutely hated them by the end of it. I just couldn't stand it. And then they forced the sort of, there was no tension anymore. It was, that you want to see it was, if a romantic comedy ends, you don't want a sequel to a romantic comedy. You just want and they lived happily ever after. You want everything in your head that you can imagine is going to be better than whatever really happens. And so then they force this storyline where they start to get really snippy with each other, and then she gets close with the sound guy, and of course it ends up going nowhere. It was just a big distraction, and it was annoying, and I would not want to hang around with them, and I certainly would not have wanted to work with them. Jim would have been fired, and also why they still had so much credit with the people around them after how nasty Jim was with his bullying of Dwight. And I mean, the pranks were all hilarious, but they were, as he got older and he's a father, it just gets more and more ridiculous to think about, this guy was such a man child. And then you go back and you think what was leading up to this. Actually, they weren't really that great of people beforehand either, in retrospect.
Yes!
Because basically, you've got Pam, who's, all right, it's one thing, she's in this relationship with Roy. And Roy is he's a big galoot. And I don't get to use that phrase very much, so I'm glad I get to today. He's just a big galoot. It's not like he's an abusive guy. He's just kind of dumb and he's neglectful, but he's not a monster. And Pam is basically just having an emotional affair with this guy through the, first 3 or 4 seasons. and Jim is
for what her thrills, her shits and giggles.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, she's messing with hearts here.
She doesn't make the bold decision she should to leave this guy or be honest about it. And Jim is persistent for long after he knows he should be. And then, don't you feel a little nasty about rooting for these people in this kind of iffy situation? And then go ahead.
I would say in the episode where oh my God, who's her first husband? My brain just forgot it all of a sudden. Roy. When Roy and his brother smash up the bar after, he finds out that, what was it? Right then and there, I feel like that's an indication that Roy does have some crazy in him. And I feel like the only reason he doesn't indulge that again is because when he leaves and he starts his fucking gravel business, then he's like, oh, now I'm wealthy and I have anything to worry about. I feel like that's the approach they took. But I think Roy had some dirty little demons hanging back there when he was working in the warehouse.
They didn't show us that until way later, whereas in the British office, the Lee character, you could just see he was just kind of a nasty, oafish, he was just kind of gross. But Roy, it was like they planted that later on. But then I did like that the episode where Jim and Pam get invited to Roy's wedding, and it actually turns out Roy is happier than they are. It all worked out so well for him. And I remember kind of thinking, you know what? This is kind of how it should have been. That was actually one of the later season episodes that I thought was really well done. But Yeah, just getting back to the main point is, like I would not want to be in close quarters, like sharing a desk pod with these two, being told how everything in their life takes priority because they're married and have kids and have dreams outside the office. And I just have to kind of cater to their whim because I can have none of those things. It's all about them. And they stop being funny.
Yeah.
That most of all, it's not being funny.
Also, hot take. I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy who plays Roy is a much better actor than John Krasinski. So
he's a good actor. I mean, I fell in love with him in The Replacements as the Jeff Kicker. So, I mean, I've known him for a while.
You know what? I'm in Philly right now, and he's in Mayor of Easttown. He freaking rocks shit in Mayor of Easttown.
I need to see that.
So
I think he's in Big Fish. He plays a college football player in Big Fish. Maybe
he might be. That's
been a long time.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, he was
Apologies
pretty good in that. If it indeed was him, he was very good.
Speaking of that, Mitch, how's the water up there?
Oh, the water is freaking incredible. And actually, yesterday I went to Wawa for lunch, and I got myself a Wawa gobbler. It's really good, and a big water with it. It's delicious. Great lunch. So
great lunch.
Yep.
Is that a Philly phrase I'm not familiar with? Just great lunch.
No, that's just something.
That's just
great
Mitch.
Lunch, so.
Oh man! All right, I'm going to score this out because we got a lot more lists to go through.
Yep.
Nathan, for making me think a little bit more deep about The Office, you are going to get the full 3 points. Mitch, and I don't know, I can't get on board fully with Ted Lasso because I feel like you secretly love him a lot outside of this. But if you were in the show, I do agree you would butt heads with him. So you're going to get 2 points for that first round. Yeah. On to our number 4s. We're going to go back to Mitch. Lay it on me. Who is your number 4 TV character you'd butt heads with?
I would be, my number 4 is Sweet D Reynolds from the American comedy classic, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And I'm not just choosing it because I'm in South Philly. Well, at least at some point this weekend I was. I'm choosing it because if I was on that show, I would also be like the improv performer guy. And when she's doing her aggressively bad characters, I'd be like, you know what? Shut up, bird. Shut up. You look like a bird. Freaking go away. Let me do this. And I'd be like, oh, hello. Welcome to, my name is Hugh Yorkshire Puddingman. Hello. Oh, yes. Oh, Brian, ask me about my afternoon I'm about to have. Yes? Ask me about my afternoon, Brian.
Oh, what afternoon are you going to have today? What are you looking forward to?
Oh, I'm going to go to the football match and I'm going to bathe in a tub of tea. Ooh. There's my British character. It's awesome. It's topical. It's political. It breaks down barriers. There's what other character should I do? Do you want a Midwest character? How about a Texas character?
Hit us with a Texas character. Where'd you find oil this week?
Oh, man, I found oil out west of Big Flower Mound, Texas. It was the best. That well goes down deeper than my grandpappy's pockets because he been making money in the oil business since before rattlesnakes could talk. You know what I'm saying? So, man, out here in Texas, we do it big, barbecue bigger, and our dogs are mean. I tell you what, My dogs is so mean, they run along the truck. They don't get to go inside because they're dangerous. I tell you what. So, yeah,
now,
out here in West Texas, you know what I'm saying?
I did not go through the entire conservatory at the Second City on improv, but I did not know that one of the great techniques of improvisers is to instruct someone in your scene to ask you a specific question. But I feel that would be very effective. You're not supposed to ask too many questions in the scene, but if your partner tells you, demands, ask me a question about my day.
Yes,
then it is polite to ask them. Yeah, you got to and that thing. So,
I want to know what kind of drugs do you have to do in Texas before you start hearing rattlesnakes talk?
Well, you know what they call it. The big star powder. That's what they call it. We're not sure if it comes from a Mexican on a Yahoo plant, or if it comes from the northern Arkansas dirt root. I think is something else. People dry out, they ground up, they put in their coffee, or their Lone Star beer, either or, and then those rattlesnakes be talking to you from deep holes in the ground. I tell you what, but yeah. Any other characters you want? Because I got Texas.
No, I want you to talk about Sweet D. Reynolds because that's what
that's right.
about.
Well, no, see, she'd be trying. I'd be doing my characters. She'd be stealing my spotlight.
Yep.
And I'd want to be like the funny theatrical one in the gang. And also, I just feel like she just complains a lot, and she just looks like a big stupid bird. And I think she would just annoy me because I don't like to hang out with bird people. You know, people that look like birds annoy me. So I'm a dog guy. You guys know that. Birds, no thank you. So,
I'm going to disagree with you here because I think you would fit in very well in this group, even with Sweet D, with the amount you interrupt Nathan and I while we're trying to give our lists. I think that you would just the overlapping dialogue,
Brian, when you say
well.
something like that, just pisses me off, right? Okay, when you say things like that, I'm just hearing squawking. You know, it's like quack, 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 quack. You know, much like Sweet D.
So wait, you're saying you would want to be the theatrical funny one in the group?
Yes, exactly.
Man,
exactly.
Unfortunately, you don't get enough of that in real life.
And also, come on, let's be honest. She's been riding on Frank's coattails her whole life, you know, and I think that would probably annoy me a little bit.
Except for the 30 years that she didn't know him.
What do you mean didn't? No, she was living off his money, his coattails. She was a kid, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess the ex-wife had it. Yeah.
The poor ex-wife.
Yes. My dad's favorite phrase to say from that show.
I align myself more with the Charlie Mack, you know, origin story, poor kid throwing rocks at trains, you know, finding rituals where you can find them kind of thing. So, that's my number 4, Sweet D. Reynolds. I think she would annoy the crap out of me. So.
All right. Maybe I do agree with the fact that you would definitely throw rocks at trains. So, moving on to Nathan, what do you have for your number 4?
I've got Danny Tanner from Full House.
Ooh.
I think I would not get along with him, and I don't think he would appreciate me very much. First of all, I did a Fast Five on this show about how messy my apartment was, and it was only slightly exaggerated. I think after 30 minutes in the Tanner household, I would have a stern talking to after a lot of tutting and little, Danny Tanner would not like me. He'd have the little hand dustbuster kind of just following me around everywhere as if I was Pigpen from Charlie Brown. And then he's a very structured man, whereas I'm a very laid back guy in a lot of respects. But I didn't rewatch any Full House. I wanted to go strictly off of memory for this, but one of the most clear memories I have of that show is when they went to Disney World, an episode where I believe they end up hanging out with the Beach Boys. I can't remember exactly. I feel like the Beach Boys made an appearance like every 4th episode in the final season. But they go off to Disney World, and one of the subplots is that Danny has a clipboard fun, where he has every second mapped out what they're going to eat, what they're going to do, and that is not how I do my vacations. I like to be, relaxed. And if, I see a thing I want to do, I do that. I'd be weaving in and out of the itinerary, very loosely structured. And I would do what Uncle Jesse does and eventually take the clipboard fun and throw it off the boat into one of the man-made lakes down there in Central Florida. And we would not get along. And then the worst part, of course, would be having to learn a lesson. At the end of every time hanging out with
lessons.
I don't want to learn.
Every time I try and teach you a lesson, you tell me to.
I am who I am. I have my own foibles, and they're what make me lovable. And so I need to reset at the end of every episode. I can't learn anything. So I don't want to become a better person after spending time with people. So that is not something that I can have happen. So Danny Tanner and I, we would not get along. That's my case.
You want to know what's super ironic about this is you would get along so well with Bob Saget.
I think I would.
But Danny Tanner with this is just it's not a match made in heaven here.
I can imagine if you were to have to move into the Full House,
then it would be Fuller House for real.
Because I'm dating one of the Tanner sisters, assumably.
Because he's tall.
Yeah. Danny would build you a room above Uncle Jesse's room, so it'd be like a bird's nest, like 5th floor of the house.
And Mitch hates birds.
And he'd be like, Nathan, you can go up there, play the guitar all you want, and the noise will go up and away. And I can, he'd be like, and he'd pat you a couple times on the shoulder and then lead you upstairs.
There was an episode where Danny played guitar. I think he was trying to stall somebody. I think there was a boyfriend had come over or something, and somebody was, or one of the girls was going to go for a drive in somebody's car or whatever. He's like, well, I remember my first car, and I wrote a song about it. And the only part of the song I remember is, because he's making it up on the spot, it was beep, 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 beep. The horn went beep, beep, beep. That was, say what you will about the standard of comedy on Full House. That makes me laugh to this day.
I love that sitcom trope where they're like, oh my God, we got like 8 dirty dogs in the kitchen. We got to shampoo and clean them. Hold them off. And they're like, all right.
Something going on in the other room through a very thin wall with a swinging door. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we can't hear nothing going on over there. There's just screeching puppies and I don't know how many birds in cages. Well, we got to get these things clean to bring them down to the garage sale.
And they're like, Gary, are you almost done? Then Gary pops his head out of the kitchen with like soap in his hair and be like, yeah, one moment. And then like gets the suds out of his hair and oh man. Freaking classic. Score us out.
I'm going to score this out. Mitch, again, I think you would fit in better than you would be against her. So I'm giving you 2 points again for Sweet D Reynolds. And Nathan, I was going to give you 2 points again too. But you did attempt to sing something. It wasn't the theme song, but it's close enough for a bonus point for me. So you're going to get the 3 points for Danny Tanner. Going back to Mitch for your number 3. Please lay it on me.
I'm going to sing the theme song to Enter. Okay.
Please.
It's the last little bit before this show starts. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah.
It counts. That's a plus one. That's a plus one.
Yes. Entourage. And the character I'm choosing from here is Vinny Chase. Of course, everyone wishes they could have the easy, laissez-faire lifestyle. Vinny Chase gets whatever he wants. Oh no, there's a little bit of trouble. He might not get the part. He's sad. He retreats. And then at the end, they're like, let's go to Vegas. And they're like, great. And then everything's fine. But when things do get tough and Vinny loves to just pull the ripcord, he's like, nah, I'm over it. Nah, screw it. Nah, I'm over it. Let's go. Like, let's just blow this popsicle stand. When like Johnny Drama has had to talk to people, Turtles pulled strings, E has talked to multiple people to work all this out. And then Vinny Chase just gets to constantly go, nah, fuck it. And just quit just right there in the moment. I would be so fucking annoyed with Vinny. I'd be like, we got dressed. We all showered. We put on cologne. We put on jumpsuits. We drove 45 minutes to come to this party in the goddamn hills. We sat in the valet waiting area for 30 minutes to get our car valeted because there's not enough parking on this really cool architectural driveway. We're here. We can see all of LA. There's a warm pool. There's snacks. There's drinks. There's probably some party drugs nearby. There's a bunch of people to meet and hang out with. And you just want to go because Jenny McCarthy wants to make out like 2 houses down or whatever. I would probably get fired from his crew within like a month because I'd be like, yeah, no, you goddamn selfish, hot, beautiful prima donna. I would try and get him to like fight for his image, like protect who you are, because that's why he has so much career instability. Also, quick question, Nathan, have you seen any of Entourage?
0.
Okay, all right, good, excellent. Okay, so you're completely in the dark, so I'm talking just to Brian here. Okay,
Nathan, I'd like to tell you that I have seen the show in its entirety a minimum of 4 times.
Yes.
So
Brian is our resident Brian is our expert here too. So,
but it's the truth. Continue.
But it is what it is. So, but like the reason he has career instability is because he has no idea who he is as an actor, as a personality. He moves with the wind, and really it's only E that has the plan. And this would annoy the crap out of me. Like, you have all this power, you can get all these things at the drop of a hat. Like, just stay in and fight for something for a little bit. Because the one time he fights for something, it's Medellin when he wants to do Latin face. I mean, he's a white guy playing a Colombian guy, and it's like, that's what you choose, is to do this stupid bad movie you do a terrible job of. So Vinny Chase, also, he only wears like t-shirts. I'm like, you know what? You're a Hollywood A-list guy. Just dress up a little bit here and there. Put a collar on every now and again. Up your t-shirt game a little more if you could. You know,
are you talking to Vinny Chase or Adam Sandler?
Or me.
You know what? I agree with you.
All three. But
I agree with you wholeheartedly on this one, because I know that although your palate is snooty, you respect the way people treat other people. And if this guy was a dick to any of his friends and you happen to be in that group, you'd be the first one to be like, either you might just disappear. You may not even confront him.
That's
you
true.
may just leave, like, I'm not wasting my time with this guy, so I know I'm going to butt heads with him. Therefore, I'm just going to exit and never see this guy again, and just outbeat him for a role. Like, I'm gonna go out for the same role he's going for, and I'm gonna be me, whiter than him. I'm gonna go for Latin face and go into Medellin and be better than him. Because that is exactly. I never thought about that before, but that is exactly what happens. Is like it's so bad. That part.
it's a terrible Pablo Escobar accent, and honestly, if I was at one of those parties, I would just go to E, or maybe just I'd steal his black card and I would just go on a spree. That
would be well earned, because it's like, what?
Yeah,
you are such a spoiled little rich boy who's really never truly worked for anything. You're a pretty face, and you fell into it all. And you have a brother who supports you blindly because he loves you. You have E, who's actually trying to do the work and build a career. And then you got Turtle, who does everything for you. So why be such a little prick?
Yeah, I cannot say how much, like, I wish that show was different because of just how annoying and just lazy Vince is in that show. So,
and yet I still watch it. Here we go.
Well, after this conversation, any danger I ever had of watching it has been fully evaded. That did not sound appealing to me at all.
Well, that's what's going to be on in the background of our poker night. So you're going to get it by osmosis. Number 3 for you, Nathan.
I went the exact opposite of Danny Tanner for my number 3. This is from the show that Larry David made the motto in the writer's room beat, no hugging, no learning. So that's perfect. But this is where it goes downhill. I went with Stella Costanza from Seinfeld. And this is George's mother with that screeching voice, which maybe the best line of any sitcom in the 90s, when she says, "I come home and find my son treating his body like an amusement park." Maybe Brilliant. The best line delivery in sitcom history, but as funny as she is, and she's amazing. And Estelle Costanza, she's played by a woman named Estelle, and we all love that, don't we? When a character has the same name as the actor, just adds a little gravitas to it.
Which is why I was hoping you liked The Office a little bit more, because half the characters are that.
I do like The Office. I know, we all do. We all do.
But, yes.
But so the thing with Estelle is she complains about everything, and she and Frank, her husband, they bicker and they nag at George. The whole thing about George and why he's the way he is because his parents have just berated him into being so neurotic and having no self-confidence and no belief in that he'll ever amount to anything, because they have just beat it all out of him by the time he was 4 years old. And then Frank is just as loud and obnoxious, and they just find things to argue about. And this reminded me of when I was a kid. Now, we all grew up in loving homes. But I had these moments where it was like, oh, this is, this must be what things are like. You have a nice family, or at least people you live with, that you were like, well, we have to have an understanding here because we're going to be cohabitating. And then you eventually go to like some friend's house that you meet a new friend when you're like 10 years old or 11, and you go over to their house and it's just a nightmare all the time. And they're just like, it's like, who's going to sit where at the dinner table? Why you sit there? And I'm going to know you're going to blah, blah, blah. Or like, who put these clothes on the chair? Like that, just any little thing. They turn up to 11 on the arguments, and like that's just how they communicate. And you're like over there for Christmas. And you're like, this is Christmas? Like, what's an average Tuesday in October going to be like? Just, screaming about putting I can't even think of an example. It's just like literally everything. Like if the remote has been lost, it's lost for 60 seconds, turns into a 10-minute argument about who had the remote last. Well, I was watching Sports Center, and it goes on and on and on. And I remember it would just make me shrink and just feel so uncomfortable. And I would want nothing more to just get out of there. And I feel so bad for people who grew up in the constant bickering homes like the Costanzas. It just seems so unnecessary. And it's people making it harder on themselves. So I would only last a few seconds in the Costanza household. And they would also turn it on you if like you refuse something. Like they give you a nice dinner and like, oh, well, here's dessert. Here's the what? You don't want my cookies? How could you not want my cookies? I spent 3 hours making. My son told me you like chocolate chips. You're not gonna eat. These are chocolate chips. They're your favorite. And they bring you into the pain that they've been suffering through for the 30 years. And I can't do it. So yeah. Me and Estelle would not a match made in heaven. Love to watch her on TV. Couldn't be around her.
I remember the first time I experienced this in real life. It was not only a family shock, it was also kind of a culture shock. So I had this friend in grade school, and he took me over to his house once, and they're a black family. Both parents are lawyers, and they have 4 sons. So it's a very like male dominated household. And when I got over there, like it was great. I would go over there. We'd play on the computers. Like I would learn things like they introduced me to Louisiana hot sauce, and I learned that I liked that. I would never have got that at home. I was like, this is awesome. This is cool. A lot of different foods, a lot of different things like that. But then the brother relationships that were like so much different than obviously my sisters and I, because they were 4 boys ranging from high school down to like 5th grade. And if you were using their video game system when they wanted to be using it, it wasn't like, hey, get off with a shove. It's no, I'm going to get something metal, put it around my knuckles, come and hit you in the thigh until you get off my PlayStation 2. And I'm sitting there in the guest controller being like, what the hell is going on? Like, is this normal? And then my friend's just like, yeah, it's fine, whatever. He's like, he left to go cry and then came back and he's like, let's just go play something else. And I'm like, what's happening? Why are you guys so mean to each other? And he's like, it's a brother's thing. You wouldn't get it. And I was like, okay. So cool. Can we just go back to playing video games and you let me use your lawyer parents' copy machine? Because that was fun. Like, I had a full office in the basement. I remember going down there and like, this is my Egypt phase. So I'd bring Egypt books over and make photocopies.
Bring books over to be copied.
Wait. This is the nerd I was. Yeah. So
you had an Egypt phase. I did not know this. Oh, what's your favorite Egyptian monument? Or at that time?
At that time, it was the Sphinx.
Oh yeah, of course. Classic.
I loved it. So
classic.
This is, I think, where my love of Luxor comes in. But anyway,
well, hold on. I have a quick comment here. I love that because you were probably what, like 3rd, 4th grade?
Yeah.
5th grade. Okay. That is absolutely the time when kids love to print out things and put them on their wall. Because I had a friend, Morgan, and he won't mind that I say this. I'm not even sure if he listens to this podcast, but he went through a phase of that where we were shown sexual things, probably a little young for kids. Like he was like very much into like boobs and female genitalia too early. So you would go on WebMD and print out medical pictures. They had like the like WebMD, like, you know, like CDs where if you'd go in there and find medical pictures of women and print them out and put them on his wall. As if it was like, oh yeah, cool guys poster, you know, like, and you're just like, you look back now and you're like, oh my God, just the misdirected, male energy, you know, at that time. But
what else reminds me is very funny is, the same friend, their home phone number was one digit off from my parents' house. So we would get their aunts and uncles calling our house all the time on accident because they misdialed. And we're like,
wow.
no, they're down the block. You got to call. Wrong number. Blah, blah, blah. So the fact that we ended up being friends and found out that they were the number that was always calling us was a very, very weird moment that day. But for Stella Costanza, I have no follow-up questions because it's a Stella Costanza. You win the 3 points, Nathan. You are on a roll for a perfect game. So don't mess it up.
I was also going to do a...
That's plus one! Hey! You guys are both getting 4 points for this round because of the bonus points of singing. Good job, fellas. All right, now we got to go for our number twos. Mitchell, who is your number two?
My number two is the second in line to a media fortune, or empire, I should say, from HBO's current show, Succession, and that is Roman Roy. And I know, Brian, you may have watched it. Nathan, I don't know if you're caught up with this, but Roman Roy is, you know, born into not just one silver spoon. This guy's got a silver spoon in his mouth. He's got a silver butt plug. He's got a silver hat. He's got silver pants. He's got a silver tie. He's just, you know, I think their family is worth like whatever, like $100 billion.
He's played by Kieran Culkin, and he's the youngest of the Roy kids, kind of in the immediate family.
Yes,
he's
correct.
The
baby. And this is another classic character of kind of like Vinny Chase, where it's like nothing has been worked for, but in this case, he didn't come from nothing. He's always had everything he's wanted, no matter what, and he has that personality where. He's never sincere about anything.
Yep.
And you guys know me, earnestness is like, if it's not there at any point, I'm probably not going to be pals with you. It's probably going to be, you know, at some point I need to know the truth about what you're thinking, about how you act, that kind of thing.
We're going to do bits, but you got to be serious one time throughout the day.
Yes. Just every now and again, like you got to be just a truthful, honest, real person. And Roman Roy just makes fun of everything and is, there's always a big dollop of sarcasm with every single thing he says, pretty much. And then at the end of the day, he's just a scared little boy who always needs his father's approval, which, I get people develop those complexes, but I think hanging out me and Roman Roy, I think I would just think he was a selfish, pompous prick.
Yep.
When I first met him, we'd probably, if I was younger, we'd probably go out and party once and probably have a good time. But then like, I'd be like, hey, where did Roman go? And they'd be like, oh, he left 2 hours ago. And I'm like, he just left me in Miami? And like, I guess he did. Yeah. You got to find your way home. You know, like
he did.
he'd do that kind of thing. And, you know, hanging out with someone who is a billionaire or whatever, like, I'm sure that'd be fun. That'd be cool. You get to go do some wild ass shit. But at the end of the day, like, if your soul's hurting, it's just not worth it. So, I even though, like, I don't know anyone who's a billionaire, I got a taste of this. One of my college roommates came from a family that had immense amounts of money and lived next door to Paul Allen out in Seattle.
Oh, wow.
And he would do things just to fuck with people. And like, he never cared about anything because he never had to, because he never had to work a day in his life. And he would always be like, it would always be okay. And like, everything was just a big, insane joke to him. So, this is just kind of a serious one. And I think mainly you should take away the theme is that all-encompassing wealth corrupts wholly and completely and should not be allowed. So there it is. There's my soapbox. Thank you very much. I'm running for assemblyman, councilman, president, whatever you want. I'm there. Let's eat the rich. Let's go.
I wrote this down. I think it'd be on a t-shirt. If your soul's hurting, you ain't worth it. So I think that's definitely something we sell. I have not seen.
Oh wait, no, that's the Jaws. Oof. I was doing the Jaws theme. I was trying to do Succession theme. That
fits the Roy family, so you're fine.
That's true. Thank you.
It's good for at least a half a point.
Thank you.
I have not seen any of this new season yet, but I have seen seasons 1 and 2, and you are very correct about his dickishness. And it almost gets frustrating to watch at certain points, because he is a fidgety guy. He's like a heavy blinker. He's always moving around. He's squirrely, and he always has to have. He just sits in the corner with a tumbler in his hand and has to get in that last word.
Yep.
And
he's like a house cat that just puts their limbs all over the arms of a chair, but he's got a glass of whiskey all the time.
Yeah,
it's
he's always there.
That's a beautiful description.
Yes.
Yeah. Like,
that's
if you think
exactly
about that.
what his character is. It's like personified to the max. Quick sidebar about Kieran Culkin. He was coming in when I was working at the Chicago Tribune to come in for an interview. It was him, Tavi Gevinson, and Michael Cera. They were all in a play together off Broadway here in Chicago. I think it was called This Is Our Youth. And I got a phone call from his publicist 15 minutes before the interview to warn me for me to tell him that he has to sit still because it will affect the audio. She was like, he fidgets a lot and he's probably going to play with his mic. So you kind of got to tell him again that he shouldn't do that. And she was coming to this. So I was like, I was such a baby noob at this point. And I'm like already excited that like Michael Cera and folks are coming in. So I'm like, yeah, sure. I hung up the phone. I'm not telling him anything. He's the guest. What the fuck do you want me to do? And he did fidget, but he didn't touch his mic and it was fine. But I was like, don't ask me to do this. So that was really awkward. So, because you reminded me of that should be worth another half point or something. But
yes,
Nathan, you have to give us your number 2 here. What do you have in your list? Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Hens love roosters. Geese love ganders. Everybody else loves Ned Flanders.
Wow.
Well done.
That's pretty good.
Ned Flanders. And I would butt heads with Ned because I would like him. And I would hate that I like him. It's just the Homer and Ned relationship started just as purely antagonistic, but it was one of the best sort of through lines of The Simpsons was that Homer did begrudgingly start to respect and even admire Ned, but he still just can't stand the guy. He still just cannot stand him. I love like one of my little favorite Easter eggs that they do is like a scene will be in the basement or the garage of the Simpson home, and just in the background, like there'll be a lawnmower or something, and on it it'll say "Property of Ned Flanders." You completely take advantage and walk over him. Now, I don't think I would do that, but it would be one of those things where you look over at the neighbor's house and you're like, oh God, like they've got this perfect family, everybody's happy, and the lawn is perfectly manicured. The house looks great. They're all singing songs and holding hands, and it looks like they have absolutely no problems. And you just be like, geez, that's nothing in my house is that good. We're all yelling at each other, and Stella Costanza is forcing cookies down my mouth. And the bitterness would be there. And you don't agree with their politics or religious views. And they seem diametrically opposed to everything you stand for. And then all of a sudden your car breaks down in the rain. And who comes out but Ned Flanders immediately and fixes your car, and then he brings you inside, and they've got a nice warm cup of hot chocolate, and they wrap a blanket around you and serve you nachos Flanders style, cucumbers with cottage cheese. And also Ned has a bar in his basement where he can serve you draft beer. But also he's like 60 years old and still looks like just the old dad, but then there's several episodes where he like takes his shirt off or in his skiing outfit, and it turns out he's still absolutely ripped. So
I was going to bring that up. I was hoping every time Ned Flanders in your world helps you, he's wearing that skin tight ski uniform.
It feels like I'm wearing nothing at all. Nothing at all.
Also, I love the normal Flanders sweater and pants. It looks like he has love handles, right? Then he takes it off and he's got He's got the 12-pack abs. Yeah,
he's ripped like Willie.
Yeah, I remember my neighbors growing up. This family that still very good friends with, but they had like they had two girls who were about the age of my sister and I, and they would always have like, they built like a big play set, or they might have inherited it from the family that was there before. But so like we would go over to their yard to play like on this gravel play set all the time. And then they built this deck, and then they got a trampoline. And I was like, man, they're just always getting the coolest stuff. And then I remember I woke up one morning and my bedroom was on the side of the house that looked out over their yard. And I roll up the blinds, and there's a fucking boat sitting in their driveway. And I was like, Jesus Christ. I imagine that's what like living next door to Ned Flanders is like. Every time you look over the fence or over the hedge, there's just some new toy, some new perfect thing. And you can never have it. And you're just jealous and you're annoyed and you can't stand them. But God, you can't live without them.
I feel like the Flanders-Homer relationship directly inspired the movie Envy. Have you ever seen that? Where Ben Stiller and Jack Black are neighbors, and then Jack Black invents spray that makes dog poop disappear.
Vaporize.
Yeah, vaporize. And Ben Stiller's like, no, that's stupid. I won't go in with you. Of course, Jack Black becomes a billionaire, but doesn't move. He just moves across the street and builds a big, insane house.
Yep.
And they eat flan every night, and they've got like monster trucks in the backyard or something.
Yeah.
And every day Ben Stiller gets into his like 91 Honda Accord champagne color, like, goes to the same job every day. But Jack Black just wants to give him money, just wants to have him over, wants to give him everything. Yeah. So
it is very Flandersy.
Yeah, it is.
That together, but it is. All right, I need to score out this round because, again, I have no follow-ups for Ned Flanders. Of course, he would annoy the shit out of all of us, but he is the nicest guy in the world. You did sing, Nathan, so that is +1 for you and 3 points, giving you 4. Mitch, you had 2 half points, plus you're getting 3 for your cat description. That is 4 points all there. Now we got to go to our number ones. Mitch, who do you have number 1 on your list for TV character you'd butt heads with?
When you woke up this morning, you got yourself a gun. You got yourself a gun. Ah! And then it goes into the show Sopranos. And I am butting heads with the matriarch of the Soprano family, Carmella Soprano.
Wow.
First off is the obvious one. I would be in her kitchen trying to improve her Italian recipes with some more flavor, some more vegetables. And she'd be like,
yeah, of course it's going to butt heads.
Yeah, right?
I'm going to walk into a mob family's Italian kitchen and tell them their food blows. Yeah, good plan, you dumbass.
She'd be like, Mitchell Brickman, you better get out of my kitchen. And I'd be like, no, there's not enough garlic. There's no spinach in this pasta. And she'd be like, we do cheese.
It's over.
And then Tony could be like, are you telling my wife to eat or whatever? I don't have a Soprano accent ready to go. I apologize for even attempting that there. But we would obviously butt heads. I would say, how about we do some more vegetables, maybe some more fresh fruits? And she'd just be like, Tony! And then he'd come down with a gun. I'd be like, okay, fine.
You can have your gabagool. All right, I'll stay out of the way.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying I wouldn't eat her food, because obviously I would, but I think that she would get very territorial there because that is like, that's her, the Sunday dinners, that's her realm. But then also secondly is her Catholicism. She makes this big show of loving the church. The priestess are like one of her best friend, if not her best friend in the early seasons. And she makes this big thing about being a good person and a pious person. But this whole time, that's her whole thing, is like, she's just a fucking hypocrite because she lives with an absolute monster and benefits from it. And then when it comes down to it, will always protect herself and her family first before helping other people. And so like the whole Catholic act, Brian, you didn't grow up in it. Nathan, you've grown up Catholic. I went to Catholic school. I went to mass every week up until I was 16. And it just experiencing the hypocrisy of it all. It grinds my gears. it boils my blood, and it heats up my oil. Is that I think that's right. Yeah, it heats up my oil.
Burns your incense.
Heats the oil up. Burns my incense. It pine tars my bath. All of those things.
Speaking of this, I got a random question yesterday from a friend who was like, how many communions do you have to take before you've eaten the full weight of Jesus Christ? Someone texted me that. I did the math. So they sell 1,000 of the wafers on Amazon in a 0.61 pound box. So you divide that, it's 0.0061 pounds per wafer. You basically have to eat over 250,000. You take 250,000 communions to equal the weight of a 150-pound man.
Okay.
At his peak health.
Quarter million. We got to extrapolate this out the whole way. So 250,000 wafers equals one body of Christ, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Okay.
52 weeks a year times from your, let's say, First Communion's at your 7. Let's say you go till you're 87 at least. So 80 times 52.
Yeah, 245,902 to be exact.
Okay. So you're going to have to go to mass like 6 days a week to get that in 80 years ago to mass. Is that right? Is that math okay?
We take that number and divide it by 365 and see what we get, huh? How many days?
How many days is it?
Divided by 365.
That's years. Sorry, that's years.
673 days. Sorry, years. That's years.
Years.
Sorry, 673 years.
So
if you go to mass every day.
So you could go to morning mass, the early morning mass, late morning mass. You have to go like 3 times on Sunday. You got to go twice on Saturday. You got to go. That's a lot of communion to eat.
I also ran the numbers here for how many Catholics there are in the world. We claim about 1.32 million. So
billion, right?
Billion. So if every supposed Catholic went to mass on one Sunday, they would eat 531.6 bodies of Christ. That's like a Congress of Christ every Sunday. That's how they say there's like a flock of seagulls, a murder of crows, a pride of lions, a Congress of Christ. That's what a group of Christ traveling about the wild. A Congress of Christ.
I did not think we would get here today, fellas, but that is a true revelation.
Wow. And like a Congress is a good word for it too, because you don't really get anything done at church.
Yeah, because I don't think gaggle of Christs works. I don't think you can use that. Back to Carmella Soprano. Hypocrisy. Continue.
Yes, I just also, I would ask Carmella, do your hair differently. Wear some cooler clothes. I'd get pushback there. So I'd be her style consultant, her food consultant, and her hypocrisy consultant. She would appreciate me at no point during those things. But I think even through all of that, she might still break her marriage vows and maybe give me a little kiss or two here and there. And I think that would just further deepen her hypocrisy, of course. So, Carmella is a character you both feel bad for, and you're like, come on, why the frick aren't you standing up a little harder for yourself here throughout The Sopranos?
Because everyone around her has a gun. I think that would be the main reason.
Well, that's true. But also, she has, like, if you will, like an invisible army of guns. Because if anyone hurts her, then they're going to get definitely hurt. So, and
she's the biggest gun of all, information.
Dun, dun, dun. Boom, boom, boom. There it is. Yeah. And it's just like her, like Babe in the Wood act, like in the early seasons. You're like, come off of it, like what's going on here. So I
need to sit down and do the full Sopranos experience, because I've had the sprinkling of Sopranos where I've seen a little bit of every season, but haven't seen it all the way through. I know it's phenomenal, and I know I'll enjoy it. It's like it's like The Wire. I have to do it. I just got to do it, and I'll like it.
You can't sip The Sopranos. You got to swallow it. You got to take all of it. So, but
all right, I will put the barrel in my mouth and take it all at once. Nathan, your number one, please.
My number one character I would butt heads with, and I say character.
Yeah.
is Fox News' very own Tucker Carlson.
Your second cartoon character on the list. That's cool. That's awesome.
Well, I'm classifying him as a character because there's no way he truly believes any of the stuff he is saying. And there's no way he cares about the things he says he cares about, or that he cares about his viewers. He is just a shill who will say and do anything that will keep the checks rolling in. And so he's a character. We've established that. Why would I butt heads with him? It's all pretty obvious, but the first reason...
It's because you hate bow ties. You hate bow ties.
Number one, bow ties. Number two is this. That's all I hear when it's just that whiny little kid voice, like, somebody took my toys, and the Democrats took our toys and they threw them out of the sandbox. How can we let them do this? It just grates on me. And of course, if
I talk with an upward inflection, I can't be wrong.
And of course, he says things that are terrible and evil and trying to undermine democracy. And he's just, but so he
racist.
He doesn't believe it, but he knows it's wrong and he still does it anyway. So it makes him even more evil than could possibly be imagined. He's like a Sith Lord of cable news. Mm-hmm. I think it's pretty obvious. We don't need to go down the rabbit hole of why Tucker Carlson is a bad guy, but I lay it before your feet. I couldn't think of anything more fitting for my number one. And I don't know the theme song to anything on Fox News, so I'll have to concede that point.
That's fine. That's fair. You don't need that point. You don't need it.
I actually did a little Tucker research just before we started because I was curious, and turns out his father was also like a broadcaster. And then
I was going to talk about that. Have any of you seen The Lady in the Dale on HBO?
No.
The Duplass brothers, 4-part documentary series about the Dale car.
No.
This is the big thing about, they kind of save the reveal that Dick Carlson is Tucker Carlson's father until the end. But Dick Carlson is known, like he won this car promotion fraud and stuff thing he did. He won a Peabody for while he was a television anchor in LA and San Diego. And like his other big thing that he did is he outed a local tennis player for being transgender. Like that was like a big breaking story. Is like it's like, oh my God, it's actually a woman. Da, 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 da. And it was like that was big news for the time. And also the car company, the Dale, is run by a man who's basically transitioning over time into Elizabeth. And like he kind of goes after her again for the same thing because like that's his MO. And it's just like, and he has no remorse for it whatsoever.
Jesus.
Like, he like outed this tennis player, which was horrible. And then he kind of just goes after this because now it's like his thing. And Elizabeth did a lot of bad things. We're not saying that she's innocent in all this, but she had a lot of fraudulent things. She was kind of like, Elizabeth, what's her name? Theranos.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So she like had a car that was never really made it past prototype, but said it was going to be the car of the future type thing. And you know what? If it actually got the funding, it probably would have been, but it never really made it past. But he was just kind of known for doing this. And at the end, they're like, yeah, his son went on to be in journalism too. And they show Tucker and you're like, oh, this makes so much sense. Yeah.
I'll say Tucker's stepmom was the heiress to the Swanson frozen foods fortune. So like Tucker had so much money in his inheritance, he never had to work. So this is all him just choosing to be this much of a shithead. So like he doesn't need the money. That's what makes it even more and more
I'll
sad,
never understand that, how people who have money don't know how to enjoy money. I suppose that's why I don't have money, is because any money I've gotten, I've just enjoyed immediately.
Well, like, and also like his like just snaky sensibility. Because at first he was like on PBS and was it CNN first?
Yeah, he was on CNN.
Then he went to MSNBC, and then and then now it's like, and then he did like shock jock radio shit for a while. It said a bunch of terrible racist stuff, stoked all like the white
it's almost
pride
like he's
bullshit.
really still coming off the high of being attacked by Jon Stewart when he was on Crossfire.
Yeah.
And it was just like, he got called out on his bullshit. I forgot who was even his co-anchor was on that. He was like, it's just nonsense bickering.
It was either James Carville or Bill Crystal. Those were the two.
Bill Crystal sounds more like who it was. I don't think it was Carville, but either way, it was like Jon Stewart comes on, calls what they do BS, and they're both like super defensive. Like, no, we're right. We're giving people what they want, entertainment. And he's like, no, you're a news station, you morons. Yeah. And it's just like, he took that to heart and he was like, oh, I could take this even further if I want, if I go to a network that allows me to.
Yeah. Jon Stewart created a monster that day.
Yeah. Bananas. Bananas.
Are delicious, full of potassium, very
also
good.
very cheap
for you.
A very cheap snack.
Yes,
for those of us
cheap.
who have enjoyed too much money over the first few decades of our life.
Mitch, I highly recommend you go to the Dick Carlson Wikipedia page because there's a photo with him and Gerald Ford that I think you'll quite enjoy.
Oh God, I love Gerald Ford culture. That's amazing.
For making my blood boil, Nathan, I'm only going to give you 2 points instead of 3. Mitchell, who is yours? What are we talking about?
Carmella Soprano.
Carmella Soprano. I mean, you did sing the song. I was going to give you 2 points.
Woke up this morning.
You did walk into
myself a gun.
You walked into the den telling them that their food sucks. I only gave you 2 points, but you got the extra point.
Wait, hold on. Brian, that takes a bold nature. That's like, if anything, that's chutzpah that I went in and did that. Shouldn't I get 3 points for that?
But there is no Jewish food in the Soprano household, which means that you are getting a total of 15 points to Nathan's 16 points. Nathan, you are the winner by a margin. Congratulations, sir. And as I mentioned earlier, my Fast Five is going to be the top 5 names for your dojo. These, of course, are only Americanized karate studios run by white guys that really love Cobra Kai. Number 5, House of the Kneeling Dragon. It sounds so cool on paper, but when the first student asks why a powerful dragon has to kneel, you get to say, drop and give me 50, because you're the boss. Number 4, Roaring Eagle Martial Arts and UPS Drop-Off.
Oh, yes.
Class sign-ups are down, and you know what? UPS makes it easy for you to scan and earn. Number 3. Full Life Energy Wellness and Front Kick Society. We tried to be holistic, but sometimes violence is the answer. Number 2. Screaming Banshee Jiu-Jitsu. Chicago's premier loudest dojo. Number 1. Tiger Roar, Dragon Wing, Bear Claw, and Rabinowitz. Dojo masters and attorneys at law. And that's this week's edition of Uber Cinco. From the Sopranos kitchen, telling them that they need more oregano, has been
Mitch Brickman.
And Nathan, who is sitting there feeling like he's wearing nothing at all, has been
Nathan Hennenfeld.
Like I said, because I said it twice. And I've been Brian Ernst. And as Biz Bear always says, wear white after Labor Day. You earned it. Auf Wiedersehen and adios.
You've just listened to Über Cinco, a production of UBK Studios. Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your fine podcasts from.
If you like what you hear and want to support the show, please visit our Patreon site at patreon.com/UBK Studios. Every little bit helps us keep the lights on and the bill collectors at bay.
Keep tabs on us on all the social media at UBK Studios, and most importantly, subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can see that we really are just a bunch of good Midwestern boys.